It was a name that came up quite early on, which is a bit 50-50 with us. Sometimes we get album titles quite early on and we stick with them, and it seems to keep everybody happy, and it works for the whole project. Or sometimes it's last day mad, like everybody trying to like think of really sort of like any title that can come into their heads. So yeah, we just felt that it summed up the eclectic nature of the songs and the sounds on the album.
I think the songs on this record have a sort of much more sort of positive spin on them, more sort of open, spiritual, for want of a better word, in its content, and sort of looking outwards a lot more. And I think music has always been, we try to make it anyway. It's atmospheric and visual, and it's a great. The sounds of the universe just sounds right, and like I said, I like the arrogance of it too.
Also, the word universe has come up a few times in the lyrics for the new songs, and we think it's quite pompous, and slightly witty. So we thought it was a good title.
I always find it difficult to pinpoint any themes that sort of go along with lyrical content and musical content, but they develop. They seem to develop during the recording. I mean, there's definitely themes there within the songs, and I would say that they're sort of loosely tied together.
I think that there's quite a broad variety. Really, there's not really a theme to the record, other than like all the themes that I always write about, I suppose. I keep joking about it, that I keep writing the same songs over and over again, but it's sort of true up to a point.
I interpret them as looking at my part in situations, and they can be everyday situations or situations that are happening in the world, and quite often how I feel about that is how I use my voice. I kind of want to draw you into the song.
Depeche Mode normally write, songs about life, the world we live in and life in general. It's one of our sayings. And musically, we've sort of maybe gone a bit more electronic on this album. Martin's had this obsession with buying old synthesizers on eBay, and that's been quite interesting and quite as soon as one arrives we get it out and try it and stuff, so that's been quite cool. But I think the main thing about the album is which is different, Martin's really become quite prolific in the last couple of years, so we've got a lot more songs than we normally have.
We first got together, I think it was in January of this year, something like that. We went to Mark's place, and Daniel and Jonathan, me and Fletcher, Martin, we sat in his studio and listened to the work he'd been doing, and I had a bunch of things that I'd been doing, and sort of loosely talked about, and Ben was there as well, Ben Hillier, actually, and he got very excited about some ideas he had about approach, and there being some more performance in the studio from us, which is, that's the performance that happens in the studio. It's not like us sort of all getting together and jamming or something. But quite often a song will be sort of structured around, Martin playing a guitar line or something, or me, singing, and sometimes us doing that together. But quite often that becomes the kind of anchor that the rest of the song is kind of built from. And I think at first what happens is you kind of you throw a lot of stuff down, and then gradually, you know, it becomes a case of like taking things away rather than adding more. But we got together, I guess we went away and took the songs away, and I spent, before we actually began recording, I went straight back home. I came straight back to New York, and I began working with my voice on Martin's songs, because I really was inspired by a lot of them, and I wanted to bring something to those songs with my voice. And so I sort of began to work every day as if I was sort of rehearsing for a tour or something. And what I found was, after a while, really allowing myself to sort of become part of the songs, I started to forget about what I thought they were supposed to sound like and what I was supposed to sound like in it, and just was able to use what I had to contribute to it and add to it and hopefully enhance the feeling of the songs. So when we first got together, I mean, Ben Hillier was one of the first to notice that how much sort of preparation I'd done, but it really served me well, because once I sort of stepped up to the mic in the studio, and I perform sort of live in the studio anyway, I don't go into any vocal booth or anything. I like to just hold a microphone and you know, and work the song like I do live. I'm not running around the studio and stuff, but I kind of like to crank up the speakers and just perform it live. And I'll do like, you know, 3 or 4 takes, and if it's right, if it's feeling good and I feel good, you know, it's kind of like it's not like everybody starts jumping around, but, you know, you get some nods, and, you know, generally I know if what I'm doing is in the right ballpark.
I think it's taken about, in the end, it would have taken about 5 to 6 months, which is sort of usual time for us. We recorded it most of it in New York and some of it in Santa Barbara.
I think that the interaction, for me personally, with Martin has changed quite a bit. I feel more confident about my ideas, and I also feel really good about. I feel like those ideas are really heard, and you know, quite often I witness them coming to life, and that always feels good. I mean, it's really difficult sometimes when you know, for me in the past, you know, singing somebody else's songs and trying to interpret them, you know, it's something that's it's a little tricky, you know, because on one hand I'm going to do my own thing, but on the other hand I have the, you know, the songwriter sitting there who's very meticulous about how he wants that song to sound, and certainly how he wants the notes to be heard and the words to be sung. And so in the past, you know, and in the past, to be quite honest, you know, I've sort of allowed that process to just kind of be as it was. But I think the last couple of records, and certainly this one, like I said, I felt much more confident about what I'm bringing to the sound, and it's allowed me the freedom to really just sort of express myself within a band. And you know, it's always a compromise. That's what part of being in a band is. But quite often, what happens in that compromise is, you know, you're pleasantly surprised by other things that if you allow it to happen, don't try and sort of control things all the time and go into a certain direction, which, you know, we all do. But on this album, what I've noticed being quite different to others is that I felt like I've been, you know, Martin and I have kind of been joining a lot more, and somehow sort of, without even talking about it really, we seem to be going in the same direction with what we wanted to do with these songs.
It's been a very good vibe, you know, and we seem to be getting on very well together, you know, and I would sort of say the atmosphere's been, you know, really quite stable, you know, and just very creative, and it couldn't be better, to be honest.
I think that the atmosphere within the band has just been improving, you know, with time. we're quite famous for not getting on, at various points in our history, and I think that it really has become a thing of the past. We got on fairly well during the making of Playing the Angel, and the tour I think was a joy to be on, and everybody enjoyed it, and was pleased when it ended, but also left it with a little bit of regret. So I think we've just continued in that vein, and I think everyone's a lot less precious about everything now. I think we can sit down and have a meeting and see other people's points of view and concede certain things, and it's I just think we have a general respect for each other now that maybe wasn't as prevalent before.
The techniques that Martin and I use are quite different. Martin's much more traditional in the way that he'll sit down with a guitar and develop an idea, or sit at the piano and develop an idea and develop the notes and where he wants to go with them. He's a way more accomplished musician, I would say, than I am. But I write in a very different way to him. I like to, at the moment I've been, I continue to write with Christian and Andrew, Christian Eigner and Andrew Philpott, and that's been working, since after Playing the Angel tour, we wrote, recorded and produced Hourglass together. And for me, it was kind of continuation on from that. But once we get into the studio, it becomes something different. And, when I was demoing the songs that I contributed to this record, I had in the back of my mind all the time, like, don't be too kind of meticulous about how I want things to be, because I want the input, whoever the production team may be, and Martin certainly, in the studio to contribute ideas to those songs. And Martin was very, he contributed a lot to all the things that I've put that I have on this record.
Yeah, I don't think you can really tell when the songs are back to back that a song's mine or Dave's, because it does go through the whole Depeche process, and sort of Ben's production, and once Dave's sung the vocal, and then I put backing vocals on it and play guitar on it, and it ends up sounding like us.
We tend to treat each song differently. I think the idea is to try and create for that song the best possible atmosphere, the best possible treatment to suit that song, and most of the time we get that right, and sometimes we don't. Like I say, it's been quite interesting, this Martin's addiction, and we should say, to vintage synthesizers and drum machines, because it has sort of been, it's made it quite creative in the studio, because when these things arrive, you have to work out how it's used, and from there something comes from it,
I think all of the songs on the album sound very different, but the fact that I've been buying so much stuff, old analog drum machines and synthesizers on eBay, has helped us shape the record in some ways. Packages were turning up daily, and we were using them as they arrived, and that obviously had an impact on the record.
Yeah, I mean there are differences between Martin's songwriting and Dave's songwriting, regarding, but all songs are really treated in the same way when it comes to the actual recording, Dave's been really improving over the last, especially from his last solo album. He's very confident now in the studio, and really, in the end of the day, I think it would be quite hard to distinguish which was a Martin song and which was a Dave song.
The reason we chose Ben for this record was because we enjoyed making the last one so much. and we were really pleased with the end result last time. It just seemed really a stupid idea to me for us to be considering somebody else when we'd left on such a high note, and we all enjoyed the process so much.
Well, I think what Ben really learnt on playing the Angel, and he's definitely brought to this, is that he knows what he can get out of us. He knows the best way to get that out of us, and to keep us working, to keep the energy going in the studio. And he's very musical, and so is Luke and Ferg. So they really brought a lot of that sensibility to what we're doing, and they're also very, all the technology that's available, and we actually used a lot on this record. Martin's got this new fetish with buying things on eBay, mostly, actually, I think pretty much all like instruments, and we have all these. Oh, excuse me. We have all these analog synthesizers and drum machines and stuff that we used way back in the 80s, kind of thing. He's been promptly buying all that stuff up. So we use the modern technology as well, and the processing, but generally things come from something that's being developed either from an analog synthesizer or from a guitar or from smashing something on the floor, or some of the old stuff that we used to do. A lot of that, we've been doing that again with this record.
Ben is a real all-rounder. It's just amazing what he's done in his life. When he was a kid, apparently he started working with some orchestra, like sort of miking up an orchestra or something. I think he was like 14 or something, and then he's learned all these engineering skills, and he's I don't know where he learned all of his electronic wizardry. But he's great with synths and modular synths. He knows exactly what's going on all the time, so I'm sure he uses that to his advantage. I think he's a bit smarter than us.
It's unusual for Depeche Mode to pick the same producer twice. We tend to want to move. Well, actually, what tends to happen is the producer doesn't want to work with us again because it's normally the worst year in his life. But we felt playing the Angel went really well, and I don't know, we just thought it'd be good to use Ben again, and Ben was available, and it has been successful. We're sort of one man down, Depeche Mode, because Alan left the band, say, quite a while ago, and he was probably the best musician in the band. So we haven't filled his place, so we need to work with a team of people to cover Alan's thing, and just generally it's nice to work. I mean, we're working with Ben, but we've got two other people that we've never worked with, so there has to be some change.
Well, we really enjoyed working with him on playing the Angel, and he gave us the kick up the arse that we definitely needed. It's a team effort, it really is, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. You're only as good as the people you put around you. Especially with a band like Depeche Mode, who have, produced a lot of material over the years. It's like I feel like we're in the perfect position to be able to, explore other ideas through other people. Because one of my fears about Depeche Mode, about the band, is always that we just become like a parody of ourselves and start to kind of think we can rely on like past, trophies to get another one, and it's not how art is. You've got to keep trying to move forward and challenge your own ideas. I do have my favourite tracks on the album at the moment, and they change all the time. I think my favourite is actually Comeback, which is a song that I wrote with Andrew and Christian, which has really, come a long way from the demo. In Chains is another one, which I really like, which I think is a sort of classic soul song. It's in the, it's got that kind of feel about it. It could have been something that sort of Marvin Gaye performed. It's that kind of soul-y song. It's got beautiful lyrics. It was great to sing. It was one of the most challenging songs for me to get where I wanted it to be vocally and with my voice. But we got there in the end. In fact, in the last few weeks, we redid that vocal again. And at first, I didn't want to redo it because I thought what I had there was good enough. And sometimes when I think it's good enough, I don't want to mess with it. But Ben just said, let's have a go. Let's see what happens. And when I immediately started singing, I knew that what I was doing was better. It felt better. If something was, sometimes that happens. It happens like when you're touring as well. Like once in a while, one in every sort of 20 gigs or something. It's like you feel like you could do anything. I could do anything with my voice, so I could sing anything, and everything's just falling into place. And that's sort of when the magic happens. But you kind of have to do a lot of work to get there. But it's worth it.
With this album, we've got so many tracks that it's really difficult for me to actually choose a favourite. I mean, I really like probably, like 14, 15 of the tracks a lot, which becomes a problem because we've got to then hone that down to make an actual physical release that's, probably not going to be more than, 11 tracks. We're mixing the tracks, slowly, and so far we've mixed 6 now. So it's really easier to keep in your mind the ones that are, fresh. And, we've just finished mixing Corrupt, which I think sounds really powerful, and, I'm quite enjoying that one at the moment, which, wasn't necessarily one of my favourites before, but because we've just finished mixing it, it's I think it is sounding quite special. There are some of the other ones that are that I don't think you've heard yet, that are quite different for us, more sort of easy listening, in a good way. I mean, like very sort of spacey, and maybe like futuristic, easy listening.
I like I suppose every musician would always say they like on their new album. I mean, if you start to say you don't like so many songs, it's pretty weird, but there's a lot of good songs on this album, and quite a few of my favourite. Perfect, I like. In Sympathy, Wrong, Fragile. I mean, there's a lot of, and it's quite good at the moment. I don't tend to be that bored. Imagine I've heard these things about 1,000 times, so that's a good sign.
We unanimously, without even really talking about it, I think chose Wrong as the first single, just because we felt it was more of a statement. It was very different for us. There are other tracks like In Sympathy, which I think maybe is more classic Depeche Mode, and I'm sure at some point that may come out as a single, whatever a single is these days, whatever a single means these days, as maybe as a promotion tool for the record at some point. But we always like to do something different as a first single, to announce that we're back.
It's sort of an unconventional sort of pop song, if you like. It's almost more of a sort of rap or rant or something. But and its sort of groove is a little different too in that way. And I think we chose it because we didn't choose it because we felt it was the best song. We chose it because we felt that it was striking, and that it was a good song to choose for the next chapter of what it is we're doing.
We've chosen Anton because we just have such a great relationship with him, and I think that he is just very good at what he does. It's difficult for us to think of working with other photographers, even though we are, because the results that we get with Anton are always so good, and apart from that, he always makes the actual photo session so enjoyable. It's you don't feel like you're just stuck in a studio. I don't know why. So I think it's just because we know him so well.
Anton Corbijn has been our sort of visual man for quite a while now, and gets involved in videos, covers. Almost a fifth man, and with the live set and stuff like that. So we really love Anton's work. So we continue to work with him.
This time round with the album artwork, we gave him the title, which he really liked, and he just went away and came back with a couple of ideas, and one we liked more than the other. And then we tried to have a bit of input as well, but he doesn't really like our input much, so we said, okay, fine.
Well, the first idea we saw was just a symbol. You know, we couldn't even a D and an M, but to us it looked like an O and an M. But I think the rest of the stuff hadn't been sent by mistake. You know, yeah. I mean, it's you know, it's good. You know, you can with Anton, you can give him a title like Sounds of the Universe, and he can come up with something that's not crass and looks good. But yes, we have chosen a video director and a guy called Patrick Daughters, who's done The Liars and a couple of things, and he'll be doing the video for Wrong.
We chose him for the same reason, really, that we chose Wrong, which was we wanted to do something that was strikingly different to what you have seen before visually in the video department from Depeche. His idea is a great idea. It's like a single idea that you could really see coming off. And I know his work, and we've looked at his work, and everything that he does, on most of the things that he does that I've seen, they're always based in one good idea that seem to always enhance the song, the energy of the song. And I think this song is a particularly energetic song, and it's immediately in your face. So, you know, the visuals have got to go with that. This is not, you know, for me, like the, you know, an idea that was kind of like, you know, a short film, which is this beautifully shot photography, which is slow moving and, you know, building a story around it, doesn't really work with this particular track, because this particular track is really like a, you know, it's like an attack of words that just come at you from start to finish. It's not like a song, you know, chorus type thing. It's this onslaught of words, and you need something that's going to build with that visually. And his idea was, I think if it comes off, will really do that. And I don't think it's the kind of thing where you would look at it immediately and go, oh, you know, Depeche Mode have got another record coming out, and not that that's a bad thing, you know. But for this particular track, I think he was the right choice.
We'd never really enjoyed making videos, especially in our early days, because that's when video first really occurred, you know, ever. And no one really knew what to do with a band, so they used to get us to act and things like that, and we're not very good actors. So then we started working with Anton and with a small team, and that was always more enjoyable. But as soon as that magic word, it's a wrap, you know, is we're not disappointed, you know.
When it comes to the tour, we haven't yet, you know, talked about what songs we want to do. The only thing we have talked about, you know, Martin and I both agreed that In Chains would be a great opening track. But that may or may not change. Probably will. But we are working at the moment as well on set designs and visual designs. But it's early days really with that.
We do have a little bit of an idea, maybe, where we're going to go now. But yeah, it's still very vague, and it's still very open and early. I mean, we still don't have to make any decisions, you know, yet, because we've still got, you know, what, 6 months, 7 months before we actually start.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to decide on what songs we're going to play. It's very, very difficult. We've got over 200, and I don't know exactly, 250 songs, something like that. So it's very difficult whittling that down to a proper set. And we're going to have a few heated discussions, I'm sure, you know, trying to work out the exact set.
Well, the first show is in Tel Aviv in Israel, which is very exciting because it was the show that, well, it's a different venue, but it's a place that we were supposed to finish the last tour with, and unfortunately we couldn't play there for various reasons, but mostly because there was a war beginning there, and not that there hasn't been a war there for a long time, but this was actually sort of happening in the backyard, if you like, and it just would have been wrong for us to, sort of irresponsible, we felt, for us to expect a large number of people to be in a park with all this stuff going off. It wasn't really, I don't think we were really concerned for our own sort of immediate safety or anything like that. It was really, we gave it a lot of thought, and it was something that we didn't do lightheartedly, but in the end we came to the decision that we couldn't do it. And half of our crew as well that were really against going there as well, so we had to sort of take all that into consideration. So it seems really fit in it. I mean, but when we even talked about doing the tour, we talked about beginning in Israel.
There are obviously, key territories for us where we do extremely well, and there are lots of places that we enjoy playing as well. Sometimes they're I mean, we do really well in Germany. We do really well in the old Eastern Bloc countries, in particular. We generally do well in Europe.
Europe's been really great to us for many years. I mean, there's France and Germany and a lot of Scandinavia, a huge part of Eastern Europe, which most of it is not Eastern Europe anymore, but Russia and Spain, Italy's always fantastic. We're going to all those places and many more, and also North America and Canada and down to South America, where we went to again we hadn't been down there for a long time, but we went on the last tour and it was hugely successful, and we're going back there this next year. And and we'll see what happens after that. Hopefully we'll be able to return again to Europe and do more of America as well.
We've often tried to analyse why we do so well in Germany and the old Eastern Bloc countries, and we haven't really got a definitive answer on that. We're not sure if our music's, dark and that's what they like, or, is it the fact that we went to the old Eastern Bloc countries before the fall of communism, when a lot of bands didn't do that, and that made an impact over there. But, we were huge, and we still are quite huge in Russia. And we never went to Russia before the fall of communism. We sort of went all around the peripheries of it, but, maybe, news got to Russia that we were playing Poland and, the Czech Republic and East Germany and, Hungary and all those places.
Well, we're starting a tour in Israel, which will be for the first time, but we were supposed to play there on the last tour, but there was a war going on between Lebanon, the guerrillas, and Israel, so we had to cancel the concert. So we decided this tour we'd play Israel first, and most of the cities we played before, and there's just a couple of new ones. Belgrade, I think, we're playing for the first time. I think we enjoy, playing everywhere. Really, we're very lucky that our crowd is quite universal, and tends to be pretty much the same, all over,
I think that we're starting with stadiums this time just because, I suppose, we feel we can. We've done very well in Europe over the last few tours, and the last one was particularly successful, and all the promoters are telling us this is what you have to do next, and it's something we've never done, so it's a challenge for us. So it just makes sense for us to be doing that at this stage of our career. For me, there's not really much of a difference once you get beyond a certain number of people at a concert. Maybe that sounds a bit, blasé, a bit crass, but you know, I mean, you can only see a certain, you know, beyond a certain point, and in some ways it gets less scary the bigger it goes, because you feel kind of like inconsequential almost. When we play warm-up shows, like, you know, when we played at the Roxy, and, you know, there's like 300 people, and there are people, like, you know, there looking at, you know, on top of you, watching you play a keyboard or watching you play the guitar, and look, you know, studying your hands. That's far scarier.
You know, our fans show up for us, and the rest of it, you know, you can't really, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. I think we're making a record that is the best record that we've made in a long time, and of course everybody says that, and it sounds totally sort of, you know, cliched to say it, but I've enjoyed making this record with the guys, and I think we've had fun doing it, you know, and you can't really ask for more at this stage. You know, we've had a hugely successful career up until this point, and there's not really much more you can ask for. I think that people will be pleasantly surprised.
With the success of the record, I don't know what we're expecting really, because it's you know, it's really hard to gauge what it means in this marketplace. Even if the record sold half what the last one did, maybe that's good. Who knows?
Media reaction's important, and for our egos, and sales reaction is good as well. You know, you obviously want to be want to be seen as, you know, have recorded something that's decent and good, you know, and you want it to do well. But, you know, we don't have any ambitions, you know, to, you know, go in the stratosphere, you know, regarding our popularity. We're quite comfortable with how popular we are at the moment. Yeah.
I think that this record is different to all of our other records, and maybe they're all slightly different. You know, I think some maybe have a bit more of a you know, kind of a twin feel or something, but not really. I think they all have an identity, and, you know, I think that this one just fits in the kind of the history, really. I mean, it seems to fit neatly in with the history of the rest of the stuff that we've done.
You can't really tell that until a few years after, you know. And we were so immersed in all this at the moment. You know, all we know is that the songs are really good, and I think the sounds are really good. So we're hoping it's going to sort of stand up to the albums of the past.
It's my job, and it's, you know, it's a really good one. You know, again, it sounds really cliche to say, but, you know, this is you know, who knew, you know, like almost 30 years down the line, that still have the opportunity to sort of make the kind of music that you want to make.
I'm very happy being in Depeche. I've said a lot that, you know, we're getting on very well. The atmosphere is always good these days. You know, there aren't many days when you know, we've got a meeting and you come in dreading it, or there's, like, you know, real contentious issues going on between the band members. It's a joy to be part of the whole thing, and I think that we're making a great album, and I think that we've, you know, already ticket sales seem to be doing amazingly well. So, you know, everything's looking positive for us.
To be in Depeche Mode, you know, right now is really good, you know, because the vibes between the band's really good, and you know, we feel we're making a good record, and it's good. It's a good time. Yeah.